Have you ever had that feeling that something is holding you back, but you can't quite put your finger on what it is? It's not your boss, not your circumstances. Turns out it's something inside you. So today, we're going to talk about the invisible cages our own minds build for us, and, way more importantly, how to find the key.
You know the feeling, right? You get a great idea or you set a new goal, but then that little voice of doubt starts whispering, or you just find yourself falling back into the same old routine. Well, here's the thing. That's not some personal failing. It's actually a feature of how our brains are wired. Let's unpack that.
And this quote from Ankur Warikoo just hits the nail on the head. This is the central paradox we're dealing with. See, your mind's number one job is survival, to keep you safe. But in our modern world, that instinct doesn't just protect us from physical harm, it tries to protect us from risk, from change, and yeah, even from growth itself.
Okay, so let's start by understanding the most common trap our brain sets for us. It's a place that feels safe, secure, and maybe a little too familiar.
Yep, we're talking about the comfort zone. It's where our routines live, right? It's predictable, it's low stress, and our brain absolutely loves it there because it doesn't have to work so hard. But while it feels super secure, staying there forever means we're just not growing. We're not building new skills or becoming more resilient.
This really lays out the trade-off we're all making every single day. On one side, you've got the cost of safety. It feels good right now, sure, but the long-term price is stagnation. And on the other side, the reward of growth. Now this one takes courage, but it pays off with more confidence, new skills, and a version of you that can handle pretty much anything.
So it's not just the comfort zone holding us in place. Our brains have these specific tactics to keep us from straying too far. Let's just call them what they are. They're our mental saboteurs. These are those negative thought patterns that whisper all the doubts and fears right in our ear.
Now, the official term for these saboteurs is cognitive distortions. And honestly, you can think of them as glitches in your thinking. They're these irrational, automatic patterns our minds use that twist reality, often in a really negative way, and they convince us of things that just aren't true.
Let's look at a few of the big ones. First, there's emotional reasoning. That's when you think, I feel like a failure, so I must be a failure. Then you've got status quo bias, which is just our brain's deep-seated fear of change. There's pessimism bias, which is that fun little tendency to just assume the worst-case scenario is going to happen. And a personal favorite of mine, the spotlight effect. That's the belief that everyone is watching your every move and judging your mistakes, when in reality, they're probably just worried about themselves.
And look, this isn't just a feeling. There's real science here. This graph is fascinating. Don't worry about all the details, but here's the key takeaway. When we're younger, our brains are more flexible. As we get older, our thinking can become more rigid, and we start relying on these mental shortcuts. Now that's efficient, for sure, but the trade-off is that we can get really stuck in these patterns.
Okay, so we've laid out the problem, we know the traps, so how in the world do we break free? Well, the whole thing starts with a really powerful shift in perspective, a revolutionary idea from psychologist Carol Dweck.
This right here is the whole game. On the left, you have the fixed mindset. This is the belief that our abilities are just set in stone. So you avoid challenges because you don't want to fail and prove you're not good enough. But on the right, you have the growth mindset. This is the belief that your abilities can be developed with effort. Challenges aren't threats, they're opportunities to learn. And effort? That's not a sign of weakness, it's literally the path to getting better. And this is maybe the most freeing part of a growth mindset. Failure stops being an identity. It's no longer I am a failure. It just becomes feedback. It becomes, okay, that approach didn't work. What did I learn? This simple shift completely disconnects your self-worth from any single outcome, and that is incredibly powerful.
So a growth mindset sounds great, right? But how do we actually do it? Let's get practical. Let's build a toolkit you can start using literally today.
First tool in the box, a direct attack on perfectionism. This quote from James Thurber is a fantastic mantra. So often, it's the desire to be perfect from the get-go that paralyzes us and keeps us from starting at all. The goal isn't a flawless first draft, it's just getting something, anything, down that you can then work with and improve.
Next up, let's reprogram that inner critic. Step 1 is simple. Just notice the negative thought. Catch it in the act. Then, step 2 is all about language. Instead of saying, ugh, I have to finish this report, try, I choose to finish this report. That tiny change puts the power back in your hands. For step 3, you actively shift from, what if this all goes wrong, to, but what if it goes right? And finally, the ultimate goal, step 4, is to turn that critic from an enemy into an advisor, an inner mentor who gives you useful feedback, not just criticism.
Now, if big changes feel overwhelming, just focus on this number. It's kind of incredible. Improving by just 1% each day. That doesn't feel like a lot, but over a year, those tiny, consistent efforts compound into something massive. The math shows you can end up almost 37 times better. It's all about the power of small, repeatable habits.
And our final tool is a total reframe for that feeling of being uncomfortable. Research shows that instead of running away from discomfort, we should actually seek it out as a sign that we're on the right track. This feeling, productive discomfort, is the sweet spot. It's that feeling you get when you're stretching your abilities. It's not pain, it's literally proof that you're growing.
So we've looked at the traps, we've talked about the mindset shift, and we've got the tools. So what's next? Where do we go from here? Well, the path forward isn't about some huge, dramatic leap.
And if you remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this. Breaking free from that invisible cage doesn't require some heroic, giant leap. It's all about taking small, consistent steps into that zone of productive discomfort. It's about choosing growth over safety, one tiny decision at a time.
So, I'm going to leave you with this question, and really think about it. What's one small risk you can take today? Will you speak up in that meeting? Will you finally try that new skill you've been putting off? What is one small thing you can do to step just outside your comfort zone? Because the answer to that question, that's where your growth begins.